everybody, it's Whiskey11. My word. Computer apparently is having a rejection of my attempt at doing things. Hey everybody, it's Whiskey11 coming at you again. We're just going to go ahead and continue on our Let's Play video with Factorio. This will be number 2. I know the last one was really long, so I'm going to try and cut it down to an hour this time. Sorry, not an hour, 30 minutes this time, and hopefully that will be enough to keep people from losing too much interest in the Let's Play series. If you guys would like to see something done, or if you think I'm doing something crazy, please don't hesitate to add your 2 cents to this. Just because I'm playing doesn't mean you can't have any say in it. So the last time, if I'm remembering correctly, we had just gotten done setting up all of our iron production, at least the start of our iron production. And one of the lessons I've learned from previous builds is not to get this all too tight. One of the problems that I had on my last build for single player was that I got all of this and all of the copper production and all of the iron production into this really short, tiny little area. And what I end up finding out happening is that I was literally running out of production capability. I could not mine resources fast enough and could not convert them fast enough, even with electronic furnaces, with all of the upgrades in them, to actually get enough resources out for my factory. That's a huge problem. And it wasn't like I wasn't able to get the raw materials in fast enough, it's just that I couldn't produce them fast enough. In fact, my train setup that I had going had trains coming from all over the map that were dropping off resources, but those resources weren't doing any good because, well, they couldn't be used. So I'm going to go ahead and start clearing out some area up here on this, getting up towards this copper, and we'll start working on the copper mine and getting its mining fully automated instead of what I've currently got. And that should kind of help with all the mining situation too. We'll get all of the mining stuff set up and be automated. I have a feeling, yes, I don't need 44 science packs in my inventory. We should probably put them down here, you know, in the lab so that the lab can get it done. Alright, so those guys are going away. I think we can kind of build around them. Yes. How many more can I... Wow! Alright. That's rad. We won't quite build them all. So while those are building, we'll go ahead and start our clearing out all of these pesky little trees. I tell you, this is actually a really good problem to have. I have played on maps in Factorio where the starting area had next to no wood resources, and early on that's kind of a pain in the butt all the way up until you get steel processing, because you can't build any power poles without wood, and so you're scrounging around the desert looking for pieces and bits of wood. Like, that doesn't exactly work out terribly well. So in this case we actually have too much wood. Like, I would be thrilled with about a quarter this much wood. That's alright. One of the mods that I am running is the resource spawner overhaul, and the premise behind it is to fix the default resource spawning so it's a lot less sparse and spread out. In the default game, all of these little mining areas would be very, very small, and there would be a lot of them spread out everywhere, as opposed to just patches that are also spread out. So like if we look at our immediate surrounding area, you can see we got copper up here, stone, iron, copper, coal. We've got some oil here. But really, at the end of the day, all of this, you know, we run out, you know, these resources will go by really quick. And starting in this area actually is good, because I can't just wall myself in. I actually have to try. Man, Who wants to try? What a horrible thing to have to do, right? Yep, we get one more in there. Oop. So you guys are probably wondering why the crazy wonky spacing. You can put more space between them if you want. What I've found is that while it does delay the resource some, it doesn't really do a very good job of spreading out the load. And we are going to need a lot of belt, because apparently I only have 11. And 11 isn't nearly enough, even though it is my favorite number. And that's as far as 11 gets us. So what we're going to do is we are going to duplicate this whole little setup up here once more down here. And the goal of doing that is we can do that with the copper, we can do that with the iron, and then eventually we'll be able to do it with the steel. And then we're going to put it all out on a main bus, and that main bus is going to go all the way off to the left here, and we're going to build all of our factory componentry off of that. And that should, in theory, allow us to have a pretty diversified setup. And then with the help of logistics robots, we'll be able to move all that stuff around. But that's coming later, obviously. We've got more important things to deal with, like the reasons why it's taking forever to get bullet damage 1 researched. It requires 50 science packs. I'm assuming I had all of those made. That's one other thing that we're going to need to automate. And in order for us to automate science production, we really need to get all this other stuff rolling. We can't do science automation quite very easily without having copper and without having iron production figured out. And there's actually a really cool little science area that I like to build. It's pretty compact, it's relatively self-contained, and it doesn't really take up a whole lot of resources off the primary line. Certainly not as bad as the setup is for card production. Card production is just abusive for resources. It's really hard on resources. So we're going to go ahead and run all this stuff up here. And because of the way this is set up, I'm going to actually have to offset. I don't think there's going to be any way for me to build this any other way. So we'll go ahead and just offset it 1. Also, that power pole is very annoyingly located. It's alright, we'll deal with that in a second. Because we are now generating this stuff automatically, we are going to go ahead and get rid of this setup. No, not mining the coal bars by hand. That's a bit ridiculous. This will also allow us to fill in the rest of this area that we didn't have filled in before. Get my power poles. And we're out of those. Now I like to keep things relatively compact, so I'm not going to spread my belts out too far. That seems to cause more problems than it really solves. I do also want to incorporate a splitter somewhere in here, simply because having that splitter going should help balance out these paths a little bit. And we will need to figure out a probably going to end up being a 4-to-2 setup for this up here. Let's fix this power pole location. It's annoying me. That will work. And because we're offset 1, we don't want to put them quite down on the same line. We'll just go ahead and We need more. That should give me 10. 10 will give me... Nope, need 10 more. Nice part about it, a lot of these initial starting resources is they don't take a lot of resources and they don't take a lot of time to build. It does get a little old later in the game trying to handcraft items. And that's why a lot of automation actually ends up being a good thing. And gear production will be one of those things we will automate. So that gives us at least the start of copper. Come down here and see how we are rolling with... Seems to be we're doing pretty good. We got plenty of power left. It would appear that I forgot to space these correctly, so let's fix this. Especially since it's basically sitting idle. I think I originally said that I don't like getting them too close to each other because I don't like taking out the resources, but what I'm finding is that that really doesn't matter that much. And the reason it doesn't matter that much is because the resources tend to... Once they get full, they stop, so it's not like it's constantly mining stuff. That would be very detrimental, but not the end of the world. And so this is just a repeat of what we've already seen with the above belts set up. And this will actually get me my next line. We'll go ahead and get those put in. Ooh, wait, that's right. Yep. Alright, there's that line. So now we need a copper input line. And this will be used... Well, for sure we know this needs to go here. What I'm trying to figure out is how I'm going to make this all work. I think we'll do this the kind of crazy way here. There we go. And then we will go ahead and turn this guy early. Bam! There we go. And to quote some really bad singer, this is how we do it. I don't know if that was actually a singer that said that. Really don't. Hello? Apparently somebody was trying to get a hold of me. Oh, dark 30 in the morning. That seems highly unlikely. In case you were wondering, I do work nights, which is why these videos frequently get done at nighttime. I'm sure you all care lots about that. Okay, so let's go ahead and start building our inserters. We need a lot more than that. So I've made 10, I need 20, and I'm going to need 40 of the regular inserters. I'm also going to need to pipe off yet another line for coal. We'll get that in a minute. We'll just go ahead and do that now. No, it's not what I want. And there's that. Looks like all of our long-handled inserters are done. So this must be what it feels like to be a weatherman. Always off. It's like the, I think it was Lewis Black. He was talking about roofers building a roof and having it be 2 feet off, and how that plays into into weathermen and how they are so frequently inaccurate. That's alright. That's a difficult job. I don't pretend to understand all the things that go on with our weather systems. Especially these days, it's getting kind of crazy out there. Yes, build quicker. YouTube awaits. Well, while it's doing that, whee! If you're wondering if this doesn't seem to be just a bit excessive on the use of power poles, well, that's because it is. It's not the most efficient design early on because of the way power poles are at the very beginning. And there is copper production fully automated. Let's go up here and fix this. It's a touch slow without the steel processing, which is mildly annoying. Oh no, everything doesn't have power. Oh no! Actually, one of the mods I'd love to see for this game actually work with the mods that I have installed is the uranium mod, which adds nuclear power. Nuclear power is an interesting way of generating power, one which I think will be the future of actual power generation in this world, whether it's in fusion in long term or fission for the short term. But that's a whole different argument. I'd be more than happy to discuss my thoughts on that if you guys would like to hear them. Let me know in the comments if you're really that crazy and want to listen to me rant on about nuclear power. It can actually be a very fun topic to discuss if you get the right audience. I'm not against. I am not against. I'm just going to say that straight up. I am not against renewable energies. Not at all am I against that. And actually, I think they play a very, very crucial role long term. You know, if there's one thing they are saying, the sun is a very brilliant piece of nuclear engineering that happened to come directly from nature. But when it comes down to what we can actually extract from it as a useful resource, it gets a little bit more difficult to extract all of the energy from it. And I think that's probably the one big problem that we seem to be having with power generation and with making like photovoltaics actually economic on the utility scale. Enough rambling on about that. This is Factorio. We've got more important things to talk about than real world stuff. This is just me fixing some of the mining operations that I kind of screwed up. We don't have a whole lot of starting resources, but that's okay. We will make it work. What? Oh, that's why. That's fine. We'll leave it. Still not using a whole lot of power. Also not using a whole lot of coal. That's really kind of interesting. I think part of that is going to come from our absence of storage chest solutions for this to keep this production rolling. So let's go ahead and do that. Do that later. After this, we will go ahead and start our science production. I think we will go ahead and start that to the south and try and get that as automated as it possibly can be. I do also want to expand this drastically. So let's go ahead and cut trees while we're waiting for stuff to go. Now would be a perfect time to have steel tools. Actually, let's look at that. Alright, so this is our tech tree. What do we need to get to steel? Where is steel? Oil processing. Do I already have steel? I already have steel. What am I... Wow. Alright, so I guess the next thing we need to do is actually steel. That's going to require us to take this and make it viable. Don't need that thing to be completely full. We will do the same down here with copper. That way we've got ourselves a convenient place to pick up all of this copper from. It'll also keep all this stuff rolling. Alright, we got belts rolling. Let's come up here and extend these out. Now, my previous build, I had 20 on the top and bottom, and that was not nearly enough. And we are at 10 now. I think we will go with 30, 20, and 10, maybe 15 with the steel. So, stone production. That'll do it. That's not what I wanted you to do. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Later on, you could actually make blueprints, and this would all be done by blueprints, but because this is early game, we don't have robots, it's kind of pointless to talk about that, because, well, reasons. I really put that in the wrong location. That's even worse. There. Nope. Stop it. There be a trees a growing in my areas. So this is now 20 long. And I think we will actually leave this at this for quite a while. We'll just make sure we leave ourselves plenty of room so that we have plenty of room to move stuff around when we start building like science and stuff. Don't you funny error noise me. Alright, I think by the time I get all the rest of these laid out down here for copper, I think that will be the end of this video. That'll be the end of Let's Play 2. We've come a long ways in 2 Let's Plays. Usually, it seems like most people don't quite get this far on their Let's Play video, their first 2 Let's Play videos. That's okay. I am glad with not being like everyone else. Being like everybody else is boring. Oh. That is also in the wrong location. That is just awesome. Oh. So as you can see, there are some advantages to having these chests just put there. It keeps this rolling. Which is exactly what we need. By the way, in case anybody is wondering, I don't proclaim to be the best at this, so if you see me doing something that is just completely stupid, by all means, please feel free to comment. I am by no means an expert at this game. I've only beaten the game twice. Once with no enemies, and once with. Both times it took me about 30 hours to accomplish. Go ahead and get this rolling. So we need, I think that's correct. Need 10, 20, 30, 40. Yes. Need a lot more of them too. Actually, almost all of those. This one science pack, it will make all the difference. And No. I don't think it's going to require too much additional for the iron production stuff. I could be wrong. We'll see. That's one nice thing about this game is it's always an interesting battle to the very end. You never know what you're going to get. Especially since late game depends so heavily on our oil resources. We only have one oil mine on this map in view at this point. That's crazy. What that means is we're going to end up having to ship in a lot of petroleum and oil just in general in order to make this work long term. And the prospects of doing that makes me very nervous, if only because them silly little biters, which are now at 3.1% on their evolutionary scale, get kind of aggressive as soon as you start moving out and don't have huge defenses. That's gonna be kind of problematic, and I don't really enjoy those kinds of problems. Yep, that's right. Right. One of the things I would like to see this game do a little bit differently is the way it manages all the underground elements of the game. It'd be very, very handy to not have every single tiny little aspect of the underground belts be on basically what I'm getting at is I wish you could more easily define what your underground belts are connected to that allow a little bit more complex underground belt systems. Right now, if you have 2 underground belts, like we'll use this one over here as an example. If I had another underground belt that, it works. The example works a little bit better with pipe because you get a little bit more distance. But if you ever had something that you needed to stick between here in terms of underground belts, it can only go across that. It can't go in the same direction of it on that same line. That's kind of what I'm getting at when I say I wish they would kind of tweak that system a little bit so that it wasn't so. I don't want to call it ridiculous, but honestly, that's kind of what it is. Also, the shortness of the belts is really annoying, especially with belts. It's very annoying. With the pipes, it's not as annoying, but it gets old running lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of underground pipe somewhere. And the reason you want to use underground versus above ground is because the underground stuff tends to attract less attention to itself with the biters. It also, in my experience, is a lot easier to work around because the pipes, if you get 2 of them, 2 above ground pipes real close to each other, the end result that you do get is any 2 pipes that are sharing the same space next to each other will all end up taking the same. They'll end up connecting, so you can't run 2 above ground pipes next to each other without them connecting. That's something I wish they would change so that you could do stuff like this with above ground pipe. That needs to change. That would be handy. But anyway, we're right at the 35-minute mark. We're going to go ahead and cut it off here for the Let's Play 2. In the next one, we're going to go ahead and start our science automation. That way we can stop paying all of our attention to trying to make science packs to further our research. That's what we're going to focus on in the next Let's Play. I'm Whiskey11. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe.